Welcome to the Fourth Line Podcast, part of Full Press Radio. This is April the 4th, 2022. With you today is myself, Carl, and Stevie Nick.
I feel like I just for the first time took a look at your screen because you were talking, and you're always making fun of me because my background's always changing, but I feel like your background has always been changing lately.
Do you like the collection of hats that I have scattered around this couch?
Why do you have so many hats on that couch?
Here's why. So normally my hats would live in this closet right beside me. But
Yeah.
I've got this little table right beside me blocking the closet door. And so I haven't opened the closet to put the hats away. And I rarely sit on that couch behind me. So that's why I've got here is the hats that I wear that are like dirty hats that aren't nice.
Uh-huh.
Right? We've all got those, the work hats.
Uh-huh.
I'm going for a hike hat. I've got this brand new, really nice Jays hat, ready for them to crush the season.
Uh-huh.
And then I've got my Daniel Ricciardo McLaren hat right there.
I feel like it's such a guy thing to just not move that tiny little table and open the door to put the hats away.
True. Yeah.
Or just like shift it over to one side so you can access the closet.
Yeah, because let's be honest, if I don't sit on that couch, then I don't have to open the closet to get the hats out, and the hats just sit on the couch. When I want to sit there, then I'll move the hats.
And is this room is this just a Carl room?
Yes, this is a Carl. I mean, to give people a little perspective, I've got a couch in here. I've got my desk with my chair. I've got my Xbox. I've got a TV with the cable hooked up to it. It's a big thing.
And it's a Carl room, so you can just put your hats wherever. It doesn't matter, right?
Yeah, my wife does not come in here and say, why are there hats on the couch? If this was the living room, we'd have a problem on our hands.
Hey, speaking of the Jays, I'm going next Friday.
Ooh.
This Friday.
I was going to say, this Friday to Rangers Jays. That's going to be fun.
Yeah. It's a home opener. Is it also the season opener?
Yeah. Home opener and season opener. They're starting it up.
Yeah. Well, a little spoiler alert. I actually don't know if I'm allowed to say this, but they're doing something for the women's hockey team.
Ooh.
Some sort of like acknowledgement, which is why we're going.
Well, that'll be fun. That's great.
Yeah. I think they're just going to be like up in the box and they're going to say, hey, everyone clap for these people.
As they should.
Yeah, absolutely.
They're a fantastic thing to applaud for. Well, that's good. And I like that we've now broken some news here that we shouldn't have probably.
I don't know. Just run it.
Hey, that's fine. Good on them. So, baseball season's coming. That's actually one thing that I noticed this week in watching hockey, right? Because I missed that week of hockey when I was away. It turns out they don't get hockey on Mexican cable. Actually, they do. They were aggressively advertising the Hawks Knights game.
Really?
On ESPN down there. Yeah. So they were going to be showing some, but like you're not getting every game. There's one game a week that they show on ESPN.
Aren't the Dallas Stars starting to kind of do some more marketing down there? Because like Texas is close.
Yeah, I don't know why. I mean, I guess it's just whatever ESPN picks, and that was the game of the week for them. But Texas makes sense.
Yeah. I think they have like some sort of Mexican night one day in the season where they wear like Mexican themed jerseys.
I mean, so do the Coyotes.
Yeah.
They probably have as many fans in Mexico as are going to be able to fit into that new university arena they're going to be playing in. So
honestly, like just move the team to Mexico, though.
Why haven't we thought of this before?
Seriously, like make it a continental league.
I like it. And the NHL would thrive and really cherish the opportunity and the challenge to have an outdoor game in Mexico City.
Oh, I'm sure they would. They would try to.
Absolutely, they would try. And then they'd be like, yeah, the ice here, it's really good. And the players would show up and be like, the ice is good. And then there's one guy who's just like sweating like crazy, praying that the ice works. But no, what got me down this track, I missed a week and I came back, and it seems every time you hit the trade deadline, and which is also when baseball fires up, it's just that time of the year. Every hockey game I'm watching with teams in the playoffs, like the good teams and the good games, they all feel like playoff intensity right now. Hockey is thriving.
Yeah. Yeah. It's been a fun couple of weeks, and it's going to get better too, especially the Western Conference games.
Yeah. Cause even, I mean, what did I watch? Pittsburgh, Colorado, two teams, not in the same division, not in the same conference, both of them pretty firmly locked into a playoff spot, and yet an incredible, intense, close game.
Was that our game of the week? Our game of the day?
No, because it was early. It was the afternoon game. And
okay. Okay. Yeah, I saw some highlights from that game. Looked pretty good.
It was good. My favorite part was, so the Avalanche were up, and then Pittsburgh tied it. And then 20 seconds later, the Avalanche scored. And then like they played a bunch of hockey. Pittsburgh tied it again. Another 20 seconds later, Colorado scored. So Pittsburgh tied the game for a collective like 40 seconds for the two goals. But
that's fine.
Good,
I thought you were going to say that you're just happy that McKinnon's not hurt long term.
I absolutely am. We did lose Kadri, but if I had to pick between the two of them, I'm picking McKinnon.
Oh yeah,
every time.
Yeah, that's not even a question.
I think I'm so used to the Avalanche and their rotating collection of injuries, because like Bowen Byram's coming back this week, which is great. But like, you know, I'm watching, it was ESPN that broadcasted that game, and they just keep talking about like, yeah, the Avalanche are like missing guys with injury. I'm like, are we? Oh yeah, Gabe Landeskog's out, Kadri's out, Byram's out. They get them healthy for the playoffs, and I know that they're currently a scary team, but they're going to be scarier.
Yeah. I mean, it says a lot about your depth and just quality of talent when you can lose your captain. And is Kadri the leading point scorer? I don't think so, but he's up there.
Yeah, leading goal scorer, I think, for sure.
He's the leading goal scorer on that team, Nazem Kadri?
That's what I would say, yes.
Don't believe you, I'm checking.
Okay, you can check.
Goals. Mikko Rantanen, 35.
Ooh. Who's
Gabe Landeskog, 30. Nazem Kadri, 26. Points? Nazem Kadri, 83 points.
There you go. So he's leading in points.
83 points. Man, is he out for a long time with injury?
I don't think so. I don't think it's going to be too long. It didn't look too bad when he went down.
Is Nazem Kadri going to have a 100-point season?
That's not going to happen. There's only like 13 games left.
You're right. Yeah, you're right. I thought there was more than that.
Hey,
man, how is it like April already?
I know. I mean, normally in a normal NHL season, like the playoffs start next week.
Yeah.
That would be nice.
That's crazy. Yeah. Anyways,
instead we got this.
That's not what we're here to talk about.
No, it is not. But let's talk. There's two big things I want to talk about this week. Do you want to talk first about the dog fight, or do you want to talk about the Avengers themed topic?
Let's talk about the dog fight. I was just trying to think what the Avengers one was. I got it.
I'm sure our listeners figured it out by now too. Maybe they didn't. Who knows? The dog fight. Jay Beagle versus Troy Terrier. The fight of dogs that everyone was wanting. Coyotes versus Ducks. Beagle versus Terrier. This became a real issue because Jay Beagle went after Terry. He had no interest in fighting Troy Terry, right? Terry just kind of took it, didn't drop his gloves, didn't throw a punch, was pretty beat up after the game. I know this is an audio podcast, but if you have not seen it, go take a look. Entire side of his face swollen. Was not a willing participant in this fight. Big comments after the game, especially from Trevor Zegras, talking about how, you know, there's no need for that to happen. Obviously, the Coyotes felt differently. What are your thoughts on the whole? I guess the other side, right? We saw Coyotes announcers talking about like they embarrassed the Coyotes. This is what happens when you embarrass someone in hockey. Apparently, they punch you in the face.
Well, and the commentating, there was a piece of it that was like, oh, if you're going to flash all of your skill and be all kinds of flashy and show offy, then you're going to get punched in the face. Like that's just how you play the game of hockey, which is kind of a garbage thing to say. Like maybe 20 years ago, but not anymore.
Well, clearly it still is because Jay Beagle completely got away with it, right? Penalties during the game, but zero supplemental discipline for this. He did get away with it. So clearly the NHL is saying this is how we still operate the game.
So I watched Jay Beagle's interview a few days later. They asked him about it after everything flared up. And I'm going to give you I'll tell you his reasoning. I'm not saying I agree with it, but I'll tell you his reasoning. Okay. First of all, he says it's 5-0 and Trevor Zegras decides to poke at the goalie after a whistle. He says, first of all, you don't need to do that. Second of all, if you're going to be poking at the goalie with your stick, you got to expect us to come after you. Like that's what happens in hockey. It happens to everybody. It happens every game. Now, the next thing he said was that Troy Terry, I guess, grabbed him or whatever in a way that made Jay Beagle feel like it was a fight. So I guess Jay Beagle thought there was like some like body language there that was asking him to fight. So he did, but he kept using the words accountable and accountability. And it's just, those words are such hockey player words. I'm not sure if they fully know what those words mean, but he was basically saying, if you're going to A, poke at the goalie, and B, grab a guy from behind and start like wrestling with him, you have to be held accountable for your actions. So that was his defense.
I don't love the fact that I'm agreeing with Jay Beagle on some of his points right now. I agree. 5-0 game, late in a 5-0 game. There's no need for you to be taking a poke at the goalie at or near the whistle being blown. It's unnecessary.
Yes. And he's not wrong that's, rightly or wrongly, that is part of the game. Because that could happen early in the first period or halfway through the second period. If you're poking at the goalie, the defensemen are going to knock you over. Right.
They're going to step in. They might not punch you. They're definitely going to step in between you and the goalie and separate you.
Yes.
And I get that, right? Like no one wants a stick poked at them.
Yeah.
Unwillingly, right? I get that.
Yeah.
I agree that in that late of a game, there's definitely a different level of commitment that you show, right? You're dumping the puck more, you're changing, but you don't have to. If you want to keep trying to score as much as you can, go for it. And if you aren't good enough to stop that, Arizona Coyotes, that's on you. You need to figure that out. If you're going to be embarrassed by how good the Ducks are, if you're going to be embarrassed by how flashy and skillful they are, if you're going to get mad that Zegras is going to score another Michigan goal like he did in that game, get better.
Yeah. And these young guys like the Zegrases out there are so competitive. Like they're not going to take their foot off the gas. They don't really care what the score is.
No, absolutely not. Especially if they're having a fun day, right? They're scoring goals, they're doing the thing.
Yes.
But I do take issue with the fact of he felt the body language of Troy Terry meant he wanted to fight. What does that even mean?
I think you watch the video, the way he's pounding on him, it's almost like he's seeing red. Like he lost control for a minute. He doesn't know what's going on and he's just pounding away. Like he just lost complete control of everything.
And this is, call me crazy, because I probably am. I'm probably extending this comparison too much. But I look at how society as a whole reacts to Chris Rock getting slapped. And then I look at Jay Beagle pounding an unwilling participant in Troy Terry. And yes, I didn't see people agreeing with what Beagle did, but there was far more outrage for an unsuspecting slap than there was for literal punches to the face and blood drawn and like swelling galore up and down the face. I don't get why that's where we're at. That we're like, well, it happened in a hockey game, so you're allowed to do it. No. But
that's how hockey's always been though. Like that's the you look at hockey in popular media. Okay. The movies are what? Slapshot, Goon, like movies about kind of dummies who talk with their fists on the ice. I know that's not what Slapshot's about, but there's a lot of that in Slapshot.
Mighty Ducks.
Mighty Ducks. The Bash Bros.
Right. I get like
it's just part of the I don't know, culture. I don't really like saying that, but I think that's just how hockey is seen.
Well, it clearly is, right? Because the league who creates hockey culture, right? They are the ones. If the league did not want that to be in the game, they would punish it out. They did not. They eventually decided after pending lawsuits that they did not want concussions in the game. They were like, all right, we're going to start punishing hits to the head sometimes. And they're gone, right? They removed that part from hockey culture.
Yeah.
If they wanted to remove fighting from hockey culture, they could, but they don't.
Okay, you might want to call me crazy. I don't hate fighting. I don't mind fighting in the game. I think it's super exciting. I think it can get the crowd into it. I think it can get the teams motivated. But like, and maybe this is a stupid way for fighting to be in the game, but like you need to have two willing participants in the fight. That's my thing. Like you can't be like, I don't like you, so I'm just going to start pounding on you. Like there has to be an agreement on both sides. Okay, we're going to fight right now.
I mean, that seems like the bare minimum of the way fighting should work. Not, I've decided I'm going to fight you, and whether you like it or not, we are going to fight.
But that's a lot of fights in hockey happen that way, though.
Oh, a lot, especially like the stage, right? You hurt my player, right? Especially a guy hits a superstar player, that guy gets hurt, you're dropping the gloves immediately, right? And we saw, I think back to last year, right? Especially in the playoffs, Tavares got hurt, and the fight that happened was Corey Perry versus
and Nick Foligno.
Right? Yeah. He was like, you know what? I had to do it. I had to drop the gloves to defend his honor. And Perry was like, well, I had to fight because I hurt him.
Yeah.
Intentionally or unintentionally.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean I have to like it, though.
And they lined up at the face-off, and Foligno said, hey, man, I got to do this. He's our captain. And Corey Perry said, okay, I get it. Let's go. Right. My personal favorite is, I think it was George Laraque, when someone's like, hey, do you want to fight? He's like, all right, good luck, bud.
Oh, a mic'd up fighter. I know that like sketchy to mic them up, but a mic'd up fighter is going to give you some good content.
Oh yeah, I'm sure they will. But I like it needs to be agreed on by both parties, and not the kind of agreed on, oh, he's starting to punch me, so I have to start defending myself and punching back now.
Yeah.
That's not cool.
I think I look at the result of it, the reasons given, and also the fact that like if you're going to fight someone in this, Zegras is the one who poked the goalie. Like if anyone is going to get fought, it should be him, not the guy who just tried to pull him off the fight.
I mean, Zegras got it pretty good in that sequence too, though. I think it was Beagle who hit him, and I think it was from behind too.
Beagle was just coming after.
I just didn't like.
He went red.
Is Jay Beagle that kind of guy? First of all, I didn't even know this guy was still in the league.
That was my biggest takeaway. Like this initially, and then I saw the outcome. I was like, "Oh my goodness!" But everyone's talking about Jay Beagle, and I was like, "Only Arizona would have a starting." I think in that game, they had both Jay Beagle and Andrew Ladd in the lineup, and I was like, "Of course you are, Arizona. Of course you are."
That's where all those older guys are going now, hey? Play with Kessel.
Gotta play with Kessel. Don't worry, we're going to talk about Phil Kessel plenty in our next segment.
I know. I can't wait.
Yeah, Jay Beagle. Apparently, that's how he sticks around the league. Anyway,
well, yeah.
Any last thoughts on the Beagle topic? I don't feel like we've reached any sort of conclusion on it.
Well, no. I mean, I think we can agree that he probably should have gotten something for it, because not only was it like a one-sided fight or scrum, like he actually did hurt the guy pretty bad.
Yeah.
But I don't know, man. The league's in a weird spot because they've got this like new generation of players who are not fighters, and they're coming into the league with these older guys who like grew up on fighting.
It's true. Yeah, definitely.
I think the fighting's just going to go away naturally. And I think that's what the league's hoping for as well.
They don't have to police it out. Absolutely. You mentioned my background. I want to know, what's this wire cage behind you?
Oh, So my wife's big on the Facebook on the curb group in our neighborhood. And this is for the barbecue. You don't have one of these?
No. It looks like a basket you would put fries in for deep frying.
So this is like, it's for a delicacy, and you open the lid and you put some cheese inside, and then you catch the mouse, close the lid, and then you just grill the mouse.
Grilled mouse. And if you're lucky, there's still a little bit of cheese in there.
No, this is just for veggies, man. Like cut up potatoes or veggies. You throw them all in here, and then you just throw it on the grill, and it cooks, and you can hold it by the long handle.
Oh, see, I've got like a tray, not a basket, but like one of those veggie trays.
Yeah, I got a couple of veggie trays too.
Yeah. Well,
I don't know. It was free. It was free off Facebook.
Well, look at Facebook. Finally doing something good for the world.
That's where I get all my good hockey takes from.
No wonder you're pro fighting. you and all the boomers on Facebook.
Yeah, right. Totally.
Speaking of boomers, Keith Yandle, his Ironman streak is coming to an end after the Philadelphia Flyers decided to sit the longtime defenseman 989 games. He's the owner of the longest ever Ironman streak in the NHL. Flyers decided time's enough, and they sat him.
First of all, A+ segue. That was amazing. Second of all, yeah, they did sit. When did they sit him? Last weekend? Sometime over the weekend. I think it was Saturday. Yeah. Saturday against the Leafs. I have a lot of feelings on this, and it kind of goes in both directions. So first of all, this guy probably should have been scratched last year in Florida.
Well, they wanted to, right? The Panthers were like, we're scratching him. And then everyone uproared. They roared up, and they put him back in the game.
The players specifically went to bat for him. His teammates. Yeah. So we know that they wanted to scratch him. Like he's just not a great hockey player anymore. And he should have been scratched long before this. Here's the thing. They didn't scratch him. Now with 15 or whatever games left, 16 games left in the season, he's 11 games away from 1,000.
Yeah.
And you're completely out of the playoff picture. And now you decide to scratch him. It almost to me feels like personal. Why? Like it's just a mean thing.
Well, and that's from everything I can tell, right? Jay, like you said, right? The Panthers players went to bat for him. Keith Yandle is a well-liked player on teams. Seems like a good guy, a guy that people like. I have no real feelings about him either way, but does seem like an interesting timing. What do you say to the opinion that it's time for the Flyers to try out some prospects and to see what they have in the season, and that's why they had to sit Keith Yandle?
Why? Like, why can't you just watch the AHL games like you do the rest of the year? What kind of like is the point to watch them and see how they're doing? Like, because they're not going to develop much in the last 14 games of a losing season.
No, certainly not. And then, I mean, there's also the argument that you're bringing them into a losing culture, which sports likes to talk about too.
Yeah, I think it's silly. I think they just should have played him and got him to 1,000 games, and then he could have ridden off into the sunset.
I mean, here's one of my issues with it. Okay. It's tough to know exactly who is a defenseman on this team. So defensemen that played in their game against the Rangers on Saturday. Travis Sanheim, worth playing. Cameron York, having a good season as a rookie. Agree that he should be in there. Ivan Provorov, your best defenseman, got to have him out there. Okay, so that's 3. Rasmus Ristolainen played 23 minutes that game.
Ugh.
Now I get that they just gave him a multi-year expensive contract. That is no reason for what you're doing right now.
So, and that's 4.
4. I'm not well versed in these prospects of the Flyers. Let's see, who's the other? Not Kevin Connaughton, definitely not him. I don't know. Nick Seeler, I think he played that game, and I'm not sure. They traded Justin Braun. He's not there. Ryan Ellis isn't playing. I'm not sure which was the 6th defenseman. They might have gone with 5 defensemen that game. Let's be real here. According to the high-level analysis of this lineup, I cannot find. Oh, they did. They played Kevin Connaughton. That's who they decided was a better player to play. They were like, no, we need to stop this. We need to trot out 32-year-old Kevin Connaughton is that high-level prospect that we need to get into this lineup because Keith Yandle can't cut it anymore.
Just seems mean. Like,
that's
now.
A dumber reason.
Yeah.
You bring him in, but you won't play Yandle. What are you doing?
If this was like Thanksgiving, okay, I get it. I can get behind it. Even if he's at 989 games. I get it. It's early in the season. There's a lot of time left. But now it's just mean.
Well, and this kind of, I fully agree, but it brings up the question of propped up Ironman streaks. Do you give some credit to streaks these days? Because the next player, the player with the current longest Ironman streak, is a man by the name of Philip J. Kessel.
He's going to pass Yandle too.
Is he?
Like, what's he at? 960, 964 or something like that? Do you have it in front of you?
I don't right now, no.
I'm going to look it up. But he's not super close, but he's
968, so 21 games behind. He will be within striking distance by the end of the season.
Yeah. And Kessel's not at a point where he's going to retire. Like, he's playing next year for sure.
So you're saying he's gonna pass him, which seems accurate, right? Patrick Marleau, 910 games before an impressive set of streaks for him.
I mean, Marleau was a serviceable player right till the end, though, for him.
I would agree. Yeah,
I think he maybe got one too many years, but I think he was a serviceable player. The thing I don't know about these streaks, because I don't watch these teams or these players close enough, is are these players, are they playing differently just to keep their streak alive? Or are they going all out, balls to the wall, giving it their all for their team, and they still manage to get to 1,000 games? That to me is impressive.
Well, I think, so we look at third on this list, Leon Draisaitl. That if and when he becomes the active Ironman record, one who definitely, gets the top defensive matchups every game. He's playing tough minutes. He's playing a lot of minutes. That is an Ironman streak worth paying attention to.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I'm with you. But another thing that I think you say, I wonder if they're changing their game. One thing that I think makes these streaks in some way more impressive is the fact that they have to, right? Phil Kessel is not the Phil Kessel that he was in Toronto. He's not the Phil Kessel that he was in Pittsburgh. He has to change. Now, granted, he plays in Arizona and they're starting Jay Beagle, and Andrew Ladd. So let's pump the brakes on thinking it's impressive. But you have to change your game to be able to fit in these lineups continually year in, year out when your skills are not what they once were.
Yeah, totally. Do you think one of the things that Kessel complains about is his Ironman streak? Like, one of his daily complaints is just like, man, I'm so tired. I wish I could take the night off, but I got this Ironman streak going.
And then he goes, it worked. It makes sense. You talked about on the old solo show, the fact that he doesn't practice. That's a great way to get an Ironman streak. He's really cutting down on those minutes.
Who just doesn't practice? This guy.
I
amazing.
Get now. You mentioned that. I get why the hot dog theory checked out. Everyone's like, this guy doesn't practice. He just eats hot dogs, complains about things, and then goes home and has a nap.
And look at him, 968 games in a row in the NHL.
That's a chunk. Interesting thing I noticed. So in pulling up this list, and I noticed it over the weekend. So the top 14 players, 6 of the top 14 active streaks in the NHL are from one organization.
6 of the top active. This is like games played streaks.
Active Ironman streaks. 6 of the top 14 are from one team. Do you have any guess which team is just pumping out Ironman streaks right now?
I kind of want to say Arizona.
No, it's the Calgary Flames.
Really?
4th, Johnny Gaudreau. 5th, Rasmus Anderson. 10th, Elias Lindholm. 12th, Chris Tanev. 14th, Andrew Mangiapane. 14th, Milan Lucic. Even going down, 20th is Matthew Tkachuk. Blake Coleman, 29th. These guys just, apparently the Flames are keeping folks healthy.
That's great. See, I thought it was Arizona because they just collect a bunch of veteran NHL players because they have to ice a team.
But I think in the future, that could be the way that Arizona just decides, hey, this guy's healthy at least. He's going to suit up every day. Just look down this list. Who's a veteran? David Kampf, the Toronto Maple Leafs, is 11th on this list somehow. And we've got a lot of Leafs on this list too. Joe Pavelski. Ooh, here's one that could make that list. No, but I was just looking at veterans.
Okay.
You know whose Ironman streak has to end pretty quick? Because this could be an issue for us. Jamie Benn has the 28th longest active Ironman streak.
Oh, no. That's not good.
This spells doom for us.
But as long as his goals per game played go down every year.
Yeah. Jamie Benn will not be an Ironman in this league. I think we can all agree with that.
Here's a question. At what point does an Ironman streak become an Ironman streak?
I think the second you play 2 consecutive games, does it not?
Oh, I don't know.
Because it's actually, so the title is most consecutive games played. So
at what point do you start paying attention? Like after 3 seasons worth or 2 seasons worth? No injuries?
I don't know. This list goes to 36 and it's at 100. So apparently at a season and a half of consecutive or in a quarter, you can make this list.
That's not that interesting.
No. Like we've got Keandre Miller's on this list and he's barely been in the NHL. So
yeah.
I mean,
all right.
Leon Draisaitl's 354 probably means he's never missed a game. That's all that means. Which that is impressive. All right.
That is impressive.
Let's take a break. We'll be back on the side talking Elimination Station. Three, 2, 1.
All right. Before we get to the Elimination Station, I want to play a little game that I told you about before, and I think you forgot about when you're like, we're going to take a break and go to the Elimination Station. But I'm not letting you get out of this game.
Uh-oh.
It's not going to be hard, okay? It's more opinion based.
Oh, I got those.
So I know, Carl. I know. You fighting hater. All right. Imagine that's the thing that like that's what divides us on the show after all this time.
Is that you know what? A little behind the scenes. That's why the show is ending. Nick's love of fighting is dividing us.
Yeah, it's just too much for Carl. He can't do it anymore. Okay, so something happened this week in the league. The first team clinched a playoff spot.
Ooh.
Florida Panthers are playoff bound, regardless of what happens in the rest of their season.
Sounds accurate. Yeah.
That prompted me to look at the playoff picture. And there's some interesting stuff going on in the playoffs. So I want to play a little game of Would You Rather and ask you some questions.
Okay. I'm going to win.
So again, it's just your opinion, Carl. Okay. So Florida's clinched. So the Florida Panthers, first team in the conference right now, would face off against the second wildcard team, which is Washington. Okay, a lot can happen. Washington might jump Boston. Carolina might jump Florida. So if you're the Florida Panthers, the first team to clinch the playoffs, would you rather play the Boston Bruins or the Washington Capitals in the first round?
Boston Bruins.
Wow, you didn't even have to think about that one.
rapid fire. Yeah, I think both teams are on the other side of their peak. But I look at it and I see more issues with Boston than I do with Washington.
Now, if you're the Toronto Maple Leafs, do you want to face the Tampa Bay Lightning or the Florida Panthers in the first round?
Florida. I do not want to face the 2-time defending Stanley Cup champion Tampa Bay Lightning.
And if you're the Toronto Maple Leafs, do you want to face Florida or Boston in the first round?
Boston, you've got to exercise that demon at some point. No time like the present, Toronto. No time like the present.
They're going to get Boston, man. I know it.
For them to get... So for the Leafs to get Boston in the first round, that would mean that Toronto would have to win the division or Boston would have to jump up over Tampa, correct?
Correct, yeah.
And I guess they are only 2 points apart, so it's possible that Boston could jump Tampa.
Yeah, that scenario exists. Okay, so that's what I had for the Eastern Conference. Is there anything else interesting here? Pittsburgh, you want New York or Carolina? I think that one's pretty evident.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go to the West, because the West is way more tight. Okay, and your Avalanche are going to get the first place, obviously. So would you rather, right now, the wild card teams are Nashville and Vegas. Who would you rather?
Nashville.
Yeah, I agree with that. Vegas is like a true wild card.
Vegas, you get them healthy. You actually get Stone, Pacioretty, and Eichel back, and Lehner, who's now back, and Logan Thompson's been good enough to pull them through. Yeah, I want Nashville.
Now, would you rather Nashville or Dallas?
I would gladly beat up on Dallas. It would. Now, here's the thing. Who would I rather? Because as an Avalanche fan, I'm currently doing something that I'm very bad at naturally, which is having confidence in my team. I never like to have that, but let's assume the Avalanche should beat whichever team. It would bring me more joy beating Dallas than beating Nashville. So I want to beat Dallas.
Good. That's good logic. I'm here for that. Okay, here's one for you, okay? The Los Angeles Kings have now found themselves in a playoff spot. Okay?
Firmly, somewhat.
Well, somewhat firmly. I mean, there's a lot of time left for them to fall out of it. So if you're the Los Angeles Kings, if you're a fan of the Los Angeles Kings, would you rather make the playoffs and lose in the first round or miss the playoffs and draft top 2 in the draft?
So make the playoffs, but you're guaranteed a first round loss.
You lose in the first round. Yeah.
I mean, I look at the quote from Daryl Sutter this week or a few weeks ago about facing Colorado. He said, I don't want to be the team that faces Colorado in the first round of the playoffs because I'm wasting 8 days of my life. And so that's how they feel, right? Flames don't want to play him because they just assume it's a waste. So if you're going to waste 8 days of your life, I think you would take the second overall pick.
Yeah, I think I would too if I was Los Angeles.
Especially, it's bittersweet now. Like if they miss the playoffs by 1 point, it's bittersweet, but you're only getting better. You're on the upswing. Things are going to be great for the Kings. They're going to be just fine.
Yeah, I totally agree. The Kings are kind of interesting. They just showed up on the playoff picture last week. And I was like, where did this team come from? We should probably talk about them next week.
It's on the list. Written it down.
Excellent. All right. That's all I got for Would You Rathers.
All right. Would you rather me give you a would you rather or go to the elimination station?
Give me one. Give me one would you rather.
Would you rather? This is what I just thought of in my head. Would you rather only be able to eat cheese for the rest of your life or never be able to eat cheese for the rest of your life?
Only cheese? Or can cheese be part of the dish?
Only cheese.
I think I'd still pick cheese.
So you're picking only cheese forever.
Yeah.
I think that's a good choice.
I mean, that might also be picking divorce, but Yeah.
It makes preparing your meal so much easier. It's like, what's Nick having today for dinner? It's cheese. It's the same thing he had for lunch. It's the same thing he had for breakfast.
Just slice it up. Now I'm assuming I can pick different kinds of cheese.
Oh yeah, no, it's not one type of cheese. That's what makes this such an interesting conundrum.
Yeah,
because you've got soft cheeses, hard cheeses, medium cheeses,
cottage cheeses.
Yeah,
is that a soft or a hard cheese?
Very soft. Does head cheese count as cheese in this scenario? It's called cheese, but it's
head cheese.
Head cheese is not cheese at all. Head cheese is meat.
That's not confusing at all.
I know. It's a British thing.
Okay.
British? It's a European thing. But I think that, the choice definitely gets easier as you dive into like cheese in the dish, because then it's pretty easy. So, but before we move on to Elimination Station, I wanted a picture of it to show you. Essentially, head cheese is Jell-O with cut up pieces of meat in it. It's just congealed.
What?
I don't know why it's called cheese, but there it is.
Why is it at all?
Oh, as Wikipedia describes it, it is made with flesh from the head of a calf or pig, typically set in aspic and usually eaten cold at room temperature or eaten in a sandwich.
And is it like cooked or cured in any way?
It's a great question. It is a great question.
I hope so.
I mean, it has to be either cooked or cured. It has to be one of the two. Otherwise, people are dying by eating uncooked head parts of animals in gelatin. I think some sort of sanitation process is required for this to happen.
Maybe it's the gelatin. Maybe that's why they put it in there.
Could be. Anyways,
all right, let's eliminate that from our memories and move on to the Elimination Station.
The Elimination Station, where we eliminate a team from the playoffs and then offer to fix them. Last week, Nick and I eliminated two teams, one of them being the Columbus Blue Jackets, the other being the bold choice of the Dallas Stars. And at several days this week, several points during the week, the Dallas Stars were in a playoff spot, and I was nervous.
Yeah, that one's going to be dicey, eh?
But they're currently out. Sure, they have 3 games in hand on Vegas who they're trying to catch. But all that means is that I'm one step closer to eliminating the Dallas Stars from the playoffs, which that's going to be great.
I believe in the Vegas Golden Knights. They're going to make the playoffs.
I do not want to face the Knights in the first round of the playoffs. That's what I don't want. If they're going to make it, they better win the wild card or bump up into the Pacific.
Well, I think they will. I think they're going to finish strong, and then I think they're going to have a deep playoff run.
Meet Colorado in the conference finals again?
Yeah.
I'm here for it. I'm here to beat them as well. So the teams that we've eliminated Arizona, Seattle, Chicago, Anaheim.
Nope.
No, not Anaheim. San Jose.
Yeah.
We have not eliminated the Ducks or the Canucks.
No.
We've eliminated the Stars, as we mentioned.
Yeah.
Heading over east, we've done the Canadiens, Devils, Flyers, Senators, Sabres, Red Wings, and Blue Jackets, which are now 4 points back of the Islanders. So I feel vindicated in my defense of the Islanders previously.
Yeah, I was actually shocked when I just looked at the list. I thought for some reason, remember doing the Islanders. But maybe that's because I did it in my head, trying to explain it to you.
Right. For me, it comes down to 2 teams this week. In my choices, you might have it differently.
I have 1.
It's down to 1 for you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Are you counting or am I?
Let's count at the same time.
I'm sure this internet lag is going to be great for that.
3,
2, 1.
New York
the Anaheim
Islanders.
Ducks. Oh man. You are trolling me, aren't you? Every week you do this to me.
What do I do?
You always pick the team I wanted to do last week that you've talked me out of.
Here's the thing, because I think, look, let's do Nick a favor, and I'll pick the team he picked last week. You're the one that keeps changing your mind.
I know, it's my fault. I'm not sticking to my guns at all.
You're like, I mean, maybe I'm that convincing. Maybe every week you're like, you know what, Carl had some good points last week.
No, I just don't feel like fighting with you, Carl.
It's very un-Jay Beagle of you. I had a look that said I wanted to fight, and you didn't punch me in the face.
Look, we could do the Islanders. The West is only going to get harder, I think.
I know that last week you chose...
I chose Dallas last week.
You chose Dallas because, and we chose the Central because you wanted a challenge.
Yes.
Looking at the playoff picture in the East, the Islanders are 11 points back of the Capitals with 14 games to go. Looking at the playoff picture with the Ducks in the other division, they are also 14 points back, but with only 11 games to go for them. You know what, Nick? You're right. It should be the Anaheim Ducks.
Yeah, it should be. Thank you, Carl.
You're welcome.
The Islanders live to see another week.
The Islanders have been on the chopping block so many times, and yet this time they're not prepared for it, but we're also going to punch the ticket for the Ducks out of the playoffs.
There you go. It's a big hockey theme, fighting theme this week in our show, hey?
Yes.
Speaking of, did you see Teemu Selanne lit up Twitter about this whole Troy Terry incident?
Yeah, no.
Ducks should, he said, essentially, I'm paraphrasing, he said the Ducks should go pick up a couple fighters to defend their young guys.
Is he volunteering as tribute?
Honestly, Teemu Selanne could probably still play in the NHL.
I don't see why not. If he wanted to, I could see him out there.
You know what they should do? This is way off topic. They should, at the next All-Star game, it's a 3-on-3 tournament. They should do like an alumni team of like Selanne, Jágr, like that era of players.
There's already so few players getting selected to the All-Star game, and we're not going to take even more of them out.
The retirees.
Each team gets one player now. That's all you get. Unless you're the host, then you get 7. And there's also the alumni team.
Yeah. Tell me you wouldn't want to see a team of Selanne, Jágr, Lidstrom. Who else is like kind of young enough that they could play in that?
Jágr. Did you say Jágr?
I said Jágr a couple times.
Selanne. I mean, I think it's going to be the GM should form a team. Sakic, Yzerman, Blake. We don't have really a goalie, do we? Luongo. Luongo's got to be in there. He's still getting paid by an NHL team. He could at least show up to the All-Star game.
Yeah. What about Garth Snow? Does he still manage somewhere?
I don't think so. I think he's out.
Bro, there's somewhere. Do a management alumni team.
Yeah, I'm here for that.
I'd watch that. All right.
I know we have to eliminate the Anaheim Ducks, but I have another question for you.
Okay.
No, I'm going to stop. Here was my question. I'm going to tell you my question, but it's okay. Rapid fire. How many goals has Auston Matthews finished with this year?
Good question. 70.
What? No.
70. Yeah, that's my hot take. I wrote down a bunch of reasons why a few weeks ago. 70. It's going to require a couple multi-goal games from him, but I think he can do it.
Clearly. My prediction is 63 goals for Auston Matthews.
I think he's going to hit 70.
That would be wild. He just scored against Tampa, so he's well on his way.
The last 70 goal scorer, I think, was Stamkos.
I think he scored 60. I think he was the last 60 goal scorer, wasn't he? I don't think Stamkos ever. Anyways, the Anaheim Ducks. I'll look that up.
We're going to have to come back to that one.
That's why I didn't want to talk about it. That's why I made a rapid fire, and then we talked about it.
Okay. The Anaheim Ducks. Is Troy Terry for real?
I think that Troy Terry is going to be like in my mind, he's a comparable to like a Ryan Nugent Hopkins. I don't feel like that's accurate because I haven't watched enough Ducks games, but that's how I feel about him in my mind. But I think in general, I think Troy Terry is going to be a very good NHLer. I don't think he's a star. I mean, Trevor Zegras called him one of the best players in the NHL this week, and that's not true.
His shooting percentage is over 20%.
Which like he's primed for regression.
He's gonna fall
sniper.
He's gonna fall back down to earth a little bit. I think Trevor Zegras. We don't all have your Troy Terry. No, Troy Terry. I'm speaking now directly to Trevor Zegras.
Okay. And yes, Steven Stamkos, 60 goals is his career high.
Oh, he didn't hit 70?
No.
I gotta look up all the notes I made.
Okay.
We'll end the show with that. We'll end the show with it.
Well, you do that. I mean, Troy Terry is very good. Trevor Zegras is definitely very good. And the fact that they've got both of them on that team, they're set up really well for the future. John Gibson, still good enough to be on this team?
I mean, he's fine, I think.
I guess he's still good enough to be on this team. I'm not saying like cut John Gibson, but is he good enough to lead the Ducks back to the playoffs?
No. I mean, he's younger than I thought he was, to be honest with you.
Mm-hmm.
John, I'm looking at it now. He's 28 years old. I feel like John Gibson's been in the league forever.
I'd like to amend my Troy Terry take. Can I do that? He's not Ryan Nugent-Hopkins. I apologize for that. I don't know the analogy that I want to make, but okay. I think John Gibson still has some time. The problem is that he has not had much support in net. Like Ryan Miller as the backup was really like since Freddie left, and it's been Gibson's net. He's played a lot of games, right? Like this year played in 50. In a shortened season, he played 35, 50, 51, 58, 60, 52. Like he's playing a lot of games. I think in the same way, I equate him to what we're seeing with Connor Hellebuck this year. We're like still a great goalie, still really good, but just cannot. No goalie can be enough when you have that defense in front of you. Mm-hmm. I think we're seeing that from John Gibson the same way we see with Hellebuck.
Yeah, and I think that's their area of biggest need, right? Is defense. Like goaltending, like you just said, is probably not an immediate need for them.
No.
They're doing okay from a goal scoring perspective. They Absolutely. Have offensive players coming up that are going to do just fine for them, but they're going to have to figure out their defense if they want to be competitive.
I think so. And
like they just traded, what's his name? He was like the one defenseman whose name I knew on that team. And I don't even know his name.
Josh Manson, Hampus Lindholm. It's one of those two.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
right. Cam Fowler. What? Yeah. Forgot about him.
Cam Fowler is still on this team. And that's
for a while.
And that's where Cam Fowler is in his career when you forget that he's still on the team.
Yeah. That's not great. They're going to have to do something. I mean, they have a lot of space, both I think on the roster and from a cap perspective.
Definitely a lot of flexibility with this team. They can take some of those steps because they're getting some of those aging players off, right? The times of Ryan Kessler and Ryan Getzlaf and all those guys making millions and millions of dollars is over.
Yeah. Yeah. And now it's just Cam Fowler. But that's okay though. Like if you can find, a top two defenseman and stick Fowler in your bottom four, that's fine. Like he can still be serviceable in that kind of role.
Absolutely. Now the problem is like top pairing defensemen don't just show up magically, right? It's not like you can just be like, oh, this guy's just available on the free agent wire.
Yeah. You got to go get them. Does Seth Jones have trade protection?
You know what? That's not a bad idea.
For Chicago, right?
For either of them.
Yeah.
A very discounted rate, Seth Jones.
I'm going to check what his, he has a modified no trade. 10 teams he cannot be traded to. We know Anaheim has not had good experiences with no trade lists.
No, especially limited ones. Some reason they end up on there. So
yeah.
Unfortunate for them.
It's crazy. Who doesn't want to go play hockey in California?
So with what we see from this division, where the Kings are now better, right? I feel like I mean, especially if they make the playoffs, they clearly leapfrogged the Ducks. The Ducks started their rebuild sooner, and the Kings passed them. Vegas, still good. Flames, still carrying on. Oilers, still carrying on. With those 4 teams in the division, the Ducks are left fighting for that last wild card with a very tough Central. It becomes a tough situation for them. They really need, to me, they need someone to come back to them so that they can make it up into the playoffs.
They need somebody to come back to them. Like, you mean they have to add to this roster?
Yes, but I mean, they need one of those upper teams, Calgary, Edmonton, Vegas, particularly looking probably at Vegas, but like they need one of those teams to drop down. They need some help. I don't think this Ducks team, as it stands right now, without some significant changes, is good enough next year to make the playoffs.
Not as it stands right now, but it wouldn't surprise me if they're active in the offseason. I mean, they were active at the trade deadline. They're obviously very willing to make some moves and put themselves in a better position than they were this year and last year. And I think that they've done that so far.
Yeah.
So
I mean, definitely
if they can keep it up. And we know that Vegas is going to have to make changes after this year.
Because Vegas has...
Because they're over the cap.
Already.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine. Who's going to be hurt next year? It's going to be Pacioretty again.
I wonder if they'll be able to convince Dadonov to waive his no trade clause to the Ducks and just put that back through.
That's the trade. And now, like, they're not getting a second. It's going to be less than a second. The Ducks are getting him for like, I guess they have to pay more, right?
Yeah.
So now like the Ducks are getting the first and Dadonov. Not bad.
Yeah. Yeah. But no, I don't think this team is in that poor of a spot. They have a little bit of work to do. And like you said, they need some of the other teams in the division to regress a little bit, but it's not awful. They've also got John Gibson locked up for a long time, which I didn't realize.
They do have Gibson locked up for a while. And a lot of picks, right? Where if the opportunity presented itself and they could go out and pick up someone, they could. But I mean, 2 firsts this year, 2 seconds, and 3 seconds ready for next year. So they've got lots of trade capital if the opportunity showed for them to make a move. So
yeah, they're in a good spot.
Yeah, I think 2 years from now, we see the Ducks as perennial playoff teams.
And their GM, this is just occurring to me, Pat Verbeek. He can play on the alumni team at the All-Star game.
That's perfect. There you go. So that's the Elimination Station. 3 teams left to eliminate. And I did not think the Islanders would last this long. And yet here they are.
Here they are. Okay, I know it's been over an hour, so I know we got to go. But the last time the NHL had a 70 goal scorer was in 1993. Teemu Selanne, coming full circle. And Alex McGillney both scored 76 goals.
McGillney as a Leaf?
No, in 1993.
As a Canuck?
I think it would have been as the Canuck, yeah. And this other note I have here, sorry, I made this 2 weeks ago. That's almost half the amount of goals that this year's Montreal Canadiens have scored.
Just rubbing salt in that wound. That's harsh. But fair. Harsh, but fair.
There you go. Matthews, watch him. If anyone can do it, he's the guy that I think can do it.
All right. Well, there you go. All right. Let's head to high sticking. Speaking of former Vancouver Canucks, our Pavel Bure must-watch games of the week. He was on the Canucks in 93.
Yeah, he would have been.
Also a goal scorer. But every day, except for, so on Saturday, Sunday, I had one heck of a day. Got busy. All of a sudden, I got the alert on my phone 15 minutes before the game started. Hey, the game is starting. I realized I did not put out the tweet. My apologies. The good news was that none of you deserved it because in the St. Louis Blues Calgary Flames game, not a single person picked the Blues.
Everyone picked the
Flames and they gave up 6 goals. So I think that's punishment. That should be the new rule. If no one picks it, I don't have to make the tweet the next day.
Carl gets a day off.
The next game's canceled. If I don't have to tweet out results, I don't tweet anything.
I'm okay with that.
Nonetheless, we've got a good slate of games this week. We're getting down to the playoffs. We've got some great division matchups. Even looking at tomorrow, we've got a rematch of the aforementioned Penguins Avalanche, but also Leafs Panthers.
Yeah, but we picked the Leafs tonight. So, and we didn't pick Colorado Pittsburgh last week. So I think we should pick that game.
Okay. The next night, I believe there's only one game of 2 playoff teams. Tampa, Washington. Yeah. We should see the Ducks were playing Calgary. We should see if we can sneak the Ducks into a game this week, though.
All right, we'll do that. It's going to be against like the Coyotes or something.
Sure. Yeah, we'll figure it out. I had some great looking at the 7th, Pittsburgh and the Rangers.
Yeah.
Or Oilers Kings.
Oh, let's do Oilers Kings. I think we picked that game last week too, but let's go there again.
And it was a good game last week. The 8th, which is Friday, Tampa Boston is a game. Colorado Winnipeg. Minnesota St. Louis.
Let's do Boston Tampa because we haven't gone to the East much this week.
Boston Tampa is there. It's good because no one would have picked the Blues to win anyways, apparently. Next day, Ducks Flyers. We see the Ducks versus Keith Yandle on Saturday.
I knew it was going to be an awful matchup. All right, Ducks Flyers it is.
Ooh, what about on Sunday, Ducks Hurricanes instead?
That's a better game. Yeah.
All right. So on Saturday then, some playoff contending Caps Pens.
Yeah,
Panthers,
I mean that's
Preds.
always a good game. Washington Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Good.
Let's do it. Washington Pittsburgh, a 1:00 game that day. So I better wake up early and get the tweet in, which means Sunday, the Ducks and Hurricanes play.
Yeah.
Brings us back to Monday. There is one game in the NHL on Monday.
Woof.
It is Jets and Canadians.
Well, if we must.
We must. And that's the games. What you're going to do, you're going to head to our Twitter at Fourth Line Podcast with the number 4. Tell us for every game what you think the winning score will be and who you think will win the game. If you pick correctly, you get points. Points equal prizes. We're handing out a jersey at the end of the season to the leading point getter. We'll hand out another jersey in the playoffs. We're handing out pucks. We're handing out hats. Who knows what we're going to do as we get to the end of this. The Snides Tour is well underway and we're giving stuff away. Find out more about us at thefourthlinepodcast.com. Subscribe to the show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, wherever you look for shows, we are there. Subscribe so that we are waiting for you whenever you show up to listen to the podcast. We're here for you. Until next week.
It's time for us to wrap up another Fourth Line show. I know what you're thinking. You don't want us to go. Be careful with your hat, Carl. You don't want to lose it. And with this episode, we'll end with fight music. I don't know what fight music sounds like.
Better to do.
I'm gonna kill you.
I'm gonna turn